Welcome to Ulua. You live, you work, you art.
Hello, Carol here. And what question that people ask me a lot when I'm delivering creativity sessions or workshops and those kind of things is are artists irrational? Or on the other hand, they say, okay, people who are not creative um, cannot be artists. And so everybody mixes. It's like we have only one side of the brain functioning and the other is completely numb. And it doesn't happen or doesn't actually function like that or doesn't work like that. And we are a full person. Unless you have a specific lesion on your brain, some injuries or some kind of thing that can prevent you from using certain parts of your brain is a whole thing and it's interconnected. Even though we like so much to hear that which part of the brain is activated and those kind of things. Um, for that, you can look it up in other videos, and there is some great, amazing content made by neuroscientists, those kind of people that really know how the brain works. But from like more of a practical side, we could say um, we use our full brain, hopefully, or at least we use the interconnectedness of our brain. So you are not only creative, but or you are also rational. You have both of those parts uh, in your mind, and you can use them both. Yes, there are some preferences sometimes, so there are some ways of our, we could say maybe we tend to be more creative or we tend to be more rational, but we can be both. Especially if we train in both things, we can be both. Um, this happens a lot with when I, for example, deliver creativity shops between when I have in the audience developers and people from products and services, software people, we could say, and also we have, for example, artists and people who draw. Specifically, this is seen a lot in the gaming industry because you have on one side the people who builds the thing and they are coding, and the other ones who are, because there are specific roles, maybe some person can share roles, but in general you have people with this role and the other role, and the others are the artists, and so they draw and they animate things and then the developers code it. I'm oversimplifying, I know, but just for everyone to understand, maybe you are just a user or a gamer and you don't exactly know how a game is made. So just to simplify, we could say that we have those type of roles. But that doesn't mean that the ones coding are not creative. Not at all. That they are actually the ones um, creating the things into code. And the artists are creating the appearances, we could say, also taking it lightly. Please don't kill the messenger. um, but they can both be creative and rational at the same time. Because, for example, I've seen artists working and creating amazing things, and they have to understand and have certain rationalities, not just creativity, and they create um, two divergent things for a video game. They have some kind of structure, they have a storyline they have to follow, they have an artistic, we could say, guideline where they have certain, even for example, mm, like the tones or the colors. This is based on a sad story, for example, so everything will have certain tones and values in the colors and those kind of things. And That's rationality, that's structure, that's something that they have to follow even as a process. And even though they can put all their creativity into it, they also have to put on their rationality. It's not one or the other, right? And even though they are having a lot of fun, because this, I hope in most companies are having fun, I don't know, and the ones I've been, they are having some kind of fun while doing their jobs. Um, they are solving problems, both in both sides. If you could separate them, developers and artists, they are both solving problems, because for example, the artists have to keep certain lines of work, because then their imaginary, I think I could say that the images they produce have to be animated, and those animations have to be I don't know if the word is good enough for animation, but I will leave it at that. They have to be like certain rules. Not every, for example, not every drawing could be animated, maybe because they don't have the capacity, or maybe, I mean, it's not that they don't have the capacity to do so, but maybe the tools they are using doesn't have the capacity or the space. If they are working for cell phones, they have to be, I don't know, certain amounts, so they are small enough for it to be in an app. Those kind of things like are very, very specific. And or maybe if they are modeling in 3D, they will have certain guidelines or certain things they can do or cannot do, because it will take too much capacity from the computer in order to be run, etc., etc., etc. There are so many considerations and that kind of thing. And on the other hand, it happens the same for the developers. They need to know about the creativity, and they need to know how, for example, to code an animation and following the same guidelines, right? So they will have a specific constraint in each side, but they will have joint, we could say, constraints between the two groups. And I'm again oversimplifying, so bear with me. Um, but at the same time, they have to be both working together, both groups working together and solving the same problem, which is doing this game and getting out to the market with this specific game that we are building. Um, but I have been moving forward from the main thing that I want to convey here. So many times I'm asked, oh, okay, but then so artists are irrational, right? Again, it's not like that. And I think I have already mentioned Ariane Searcher, who is a media textile artist, and she mentioned that she has a process, she has a structure, and she has. I think I have already mentioned this, and I don't quite remember the specific words she said. It was some time ago, and she said that something like that, like this. That she had to think, for example, I'm in her process, even though it's improvised, this process of hers is improvised, she just goes to what feels right now for the next step of the process in making her art. She says, I have to put on my rationality into this. I have to think what will be the best color, at least from my perspective, from my um, imaginary world, we could say, from her for her own eye and her own perspective in her art. She has to think, okay, maybe this blue won't be good in this particular piece that I'm doing. So she has to think about that. She has to put in the rationality in place. It's not just, oh, doing everything that you can and just figure it out. No. Every artist will have a specific process that they follow in order to follow their own voice, we could say, their own perspective of the world they are representing. So that's rational. You have to think in order to do that and not just do whatever goes, right? Unless you are in the moment of experimentation, which is another phase, and you can have that. You can have like creativity workshops, or if you are already an artist in your studio, you will have sessions where you just do just cause things, but that's not the right uh, or that's not the produce out, we could say. That's generally the artists do this for their own enjoyment, for learning, for understanding more, which is rational, um, about their own process and things they could incorporate into their own process and their own produce. We could say, speaking in terms of commercial things, consumerism maybe. Um, so yes, we can't say that artists are irrational and developers are super rational. That's not exactly like that. And on the other hand, as I was saying, creativity, um, this is just in general. When we talk about creativity, we can say that creativity is the moment when we diverge, when we expand our minds and think of even irrational things or things that could seem impossible to do in real life, but we open the to the infinite the ideas. So we are diverging. I think we have talked a little bit about this. So we are imagining, and the main question there, when you are using just or trying to use more your creativity, is not that you just disconnect part of your brain. No. Um, so there you use a specific question. I mean, it's like the essential question that you can use during that process, which is what if. So you are imagining things and you're thinking, what if I could, I don't know, blend these two materials that have never been used before? Um, this curiosity is the curiosity is the driver in this case, in this the state of creativity. So again, you are diverging, you are opening all up to all possibilities. And this can be done in the example that I was given. This can be done by artists and also by developers. In general, in a company, as I've been working, for example, in some industries, everyone is in that table, giving their options and imagining things. Creativity is more linked to imagination. And everything is valid at that point, at the point of diversion, opening up. And then you can't be at that state forever. You have to, um, it comes to mind the word aterrizar, which is in Spanish. We have to converge and then, we have opened to all the possibilities, and then we have to choose among those some of them that we can actually bring down and converge, make the conversion, make the closing of these ideas and saying, okay, we will take like 3 ideas from here, from from all the ones that have been put on to the table. We will take 3 ideas from there and we will explore them a little bit more. And that is when, again, even though creativity is still functioning, it's not that you shut up your brain, but you use a little bit more of rationality. So you are now thinking about another question, which is how, from these ideas that I have here, how could I make them reality? How could I be able to create this product that we are talking about, this feature, this game, this service, this whatever it is that we are trying to create? And Now in the how, yes, the most mm, I don't know if relevant is the word, the most predominant part of us is rationality, because we need to create and go down and create the process, the structure. We will do step 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, and that we will create like the plan for in order to um, make this idea happen, right? So there goes rationality. It's a little bit more into that. Again, it's not something that I turn on my creativity and then I turn it off, and turn on my rationality and then turn it off. It's an ongoing process. It's working both at the same time. Um, so like they are like a dynamic duo, we could say. They are working together, and we are creating things thanks to those capacities that almost everyone in the world has. And again, when I say almost everyone, is because there might be some people who are injured or don't have the physical capacity to do so. But in general, everyone can do that. And even though this could seem like a dualistic perspective of the topic of creativity versus logic, how does our brain work in that? Again, it's just a whole part of ourselves, and we use it, maybe a little more of this and maybe a little more of that in different moments, but we use it all the time. And I haven't talked a lot about developers, so I will talk about that part now. I have also been a developer on my own, and I realized now that even though I thought it was full rationality mode, um, actually no, because we were solving problems. And when you have to solve a problem, you have to put both things in your service, as we have said before. And even though when you have, for example, to create something that is not a game, because we tend to think that games and that are developed are like more creative, which they are, of course. They have other components, but even for creating a system for a bank or for a I know it will sound super boring for people who work in games maybe, but developers there have also to use their mind. They have to use not only their rationality but their creativity in order to solve certain things. And you will always have difficulties when putting to test the things you have created, the things you have coded. There will always be bugs and defects that you will have to resolve, and in order to move forward with the solution. And it's the same for every role in the software industry. And I'm just talking about this because this is the most I know about technology. But I've also been in other industries where, for example, in manufacturing, I've been to several industries and they have to use their minds too, both creativity and rationality. And even if you're not in an industry, if you have, for example, I don't know, your car has broken, and especially this works for old cars. I know some old cars where they used to have a user manual, and I know several models that I've seen several of these books in the past, many years ago. And if your car was broken, you had the manual, and you could totally take out a part of the car and replace it for another one. So you had a guide, but sometimes you couldn't find, for example, the exact same piece that you needed in order to replace it to the car, for the car, and you have to sometimes create a new solution, but by patching it with some things or creating a new piece that it wasn't the original one, but not in a new one, and those kind of things. So you are always using both capacities, your creativity and rationality. I hope so. I hope you are using both, and yes, you are. Um, so I just wanted to make this distinction because I think it's really important. It's a question that everyone asks me in innovation programs when we start talking about creativity and we start talking about uh, how our minds create new things and how to do this process that we talked about divergence and convergence. And we don't just do this one time. We do it several times with different ideas in different parts of the process. But I'm again oversimplifying, just to make this point. And I guess in every job, I could say, but and different types of companies, from startups to big ones even, you will have to solve problems. There will always be problems, and they will require always at first to use your creativity, um, and then your rationality in order to follow the steps, and sometimes even create a process up after that. For example, if you find something that's not working, a process that's broken or it's not updated, you will find that with creativity, even if you have, it's a small thing that you add to it, is creativity too. And when you do that, you may have to use your rationality in order to, for this thing that you have created, this small step or this small thing that you have realized it was missing or this process was lacking of, you will have to put your mind, your mental part, or your rationality, your logic, in order to write a statement to fix the process and then to test it and everything that follows from there. Um, so I hope this somehow answers that question that I've been receiving again and so many times. That is why I wanted to make an episode. So maybe the next time I have to answer that, I will just go to that episode and check it out. Um, so yeah, I think it's useful for you, and I hope that you like it. And you can comment of if you believe, for example, that you are just creative and not rational, or if you are not rational and just creative, or which is the thing you identify yourself with. And well, leave it in the comments and share it with other friends if you want to. And you can always invite me for a coffee, as I always say. And so thank you so much for being here, and see you next time. Bye bye.
Stay tuned for Ulua's next episode.